You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers, so let's get started with Jared, the Uber driver.
Hi, this is Jared Trader, the Uber driver
What's up?
from Texas. Yeah, I guess I was driving my wife's car, and I think it connected to the Bluetooth toward the end, so that must have been what happened. But anyways, I was just letting y'all know, we welcomed a new Packer fan into the world on August 11th.
All right.
My son Rasmus was born at 9 pounds 1 ounce.
Congrats.
So yeah, it's been a fun time adjusting and everything. So yeah, go Pack go. Happy birthday to my son. Let's go.
Well, tomorrow is my son's birthday, so congrats to you, and been a decent amount of that recently, so glad that the Packernet family is growing here, and appreciate you calling and sharing that with us.
Hey, Ryan. Zach in Buffalo, buddy.
What's up?
Hopefully the quality of the call is not too bad. Hey, I'm calling in right now, preseason week 3. We're about to go play the Seahawks. And, I hear all this talk, from the bull crap, Romeo Dobbs trade rumors and all this stuff.
Sure.
And that before I put all the rest. Can I ask you an honest question? If you find the time, can you break my delusions and prove to me why Romeo Dobbs is not as good of a receiver as I think that he is? I personally think that Romeo Dobbs is probably a top 32, top 40 receiver in the league. I mean, I think a lot of it comes into the fact that he makes some of these amazing, strong-handed, go up,
Sure.
double me plays over corners and stuff, crazy balls over the middle and all this stuff. I just feel like out of all the receivers that we have on this team, that dude has flashed the most. And I understand injury concerns. I understand a little scuffle with the team last year and stuff like that. It all plays a factor, but man, I'm telling you, I think that if Romeo Dobbs goes to another team and he has the lion's share of targets, he's going to be a star. I really do. And I think that maybe he just gets buried a little bit on this team. I know he had like 70 targets last year or something, but if you could just break my delusion, because I seem to be the only one in the world, the madman at the top of the tower, who thinks that Romeo Dobbs is a stud. Like, I think he's a good receiver. I think a lot of people think that, but I think he's one of the best, not one of the best, one of the better receivers in the league. If you could break my delusions, man, that would be great. Hopefully we beat the Seahawks. It's preseason. Who cares? But yeah, man. Thanks, buddy. Go Pack, go.
Yeah, I mean, there's no perfect way to do it, and maybe what I should try to do is something similar to what I did for quarterbacks, and that is try to come up with what I think makes sense for, what would my ultimate metric be to rank wide receivers. But let's just go through a couple metrics that I think are pretty solid as they are. Let's see if we can find Romeo. Yeah, he's not even on there. It's not a good start. All right. Romeo. Oh, come on. What the heck is happening? I don't know why Romeo didn't work, but Dobbs does. So, if we go by overall offensive PFF grade, he ranks 56th. If we go based on his PFF receiving grade, he's 54th. If we look at yards per route run, he is 54th. Let's see what other metrics. Let me go over to like DVOA. What do we got over here at FTN that might be useful? They have a thing called catch percentage or catch rate, percentage of targets a player converts into a reception. He ranks 41st. If we look at his EPA, he's 34th. EPA per target is 26th. DVOA does love him. They have him 17th. What else? Is there anything else? We did yards per route run. Explosive catch rate. I don't know what that is, but we can We can look at it. What does it say that it is? Percentage of the player's targets that turned into an explosive play. Christian Watson's actually number 1 on that list, not super surprisingly. Jaden Reed, 11th. He is 45th in that metric. There's a catchable target rate, which is probably a better metric. Percentage of the player's catchable targets they converted into a reception. Again, catchable is always going to be a little bit of a, how do you define that? But see if we can find him here. Romeo Dobbs. Nope, he must be on the 3rd page. Romeo Dobbs. Yep, 68th. He also is listed as having the 17th highest drop rate. He ranked 13th in success rate, which is success rate is a statistic for running backs. I don't think that's true. That measures how consistently they achieve the yardage necessary for a play to be deemed successful. All right, well, that's probably not one that would be on my list. All right, I think that's about it. So, again, I can't tell you where to put him. I would say he's pretty consistently a number 2 wide receiver. He's in that 40-50 range, like very consistently. There's a couple, like DVOA, that do have him in that sort of top 20 number 1 receiver area. And if you want to just lean all the way into DVOA, then there's your answer. But the other thing that I would say is, again, whether you're a top 20, top 15 or whatever, that's all relative to the rest of the league. There are so many really good receivers in the NFL. If you're a top 20 receiver, you are a freak. So, Romeo's a number 2 because he's not a freak. He's okay. I think he's good. He does make some really fantastic catches, but I think a lot of guys make some really fantastic catches. I also think the drops are too high. I don't think he is in that sort of special category where he's the guy that if all goes wrong, you just turn to Romeo Dobbs. I don't think he has that. I think he is a very solid number 2 with a little bit too many drop issues. But if I really believe if you get Matthew Golden going, and if Matthew Golden can actually be that true number 1, the guy that is special, that's going to help guys like Reed and Dobbs and whatnot to not have to try to shoulder that number 1 wide receiver burden that I don't think that they do a very good job shouldering. That's my hope anyway. But if you're asking me, I would put him in the wide receiver 2 category. Solid number 2. I would not put him in the, mega top tier. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Stephon Diggs. I know those guys aren't exactly what they used to be, but they're ranked number 22 and 23. Devontae Adams, at his age, again, he's not what he was, but he ranked 30th. That dude still can play. DK Metcalf was 38th, Jordan Addison 41, Brandon Ayuk 42. I mean, these are guys that they're good football players, whether they're in their prime or not or whatever. So being like 50, just outside of that range, it's not as much of an insult as I think a lot of people would take it as. Dobbs is solid. I mean, Jamar Chase ranked 12th. He's not on that tier. Jackson Smith and Jigba, who absolutely exploded and I think is that legit number 1 dude, he ranked 16th. Terry McLaurin and Ladd McConkey were phenomenal wide receivers. That's 19 and 20. CeeDee Lamb, 21. So I think Dobbs is solid. I'm happy that he's on the team, and I hope that things go well, but I think he's a number 2. That's where he sits, in my opinion.
Hey, what's up, Ryan? It's Nate from California.
What's up?
I have a question about homeschooling and stuff.
Sure.
I know you know a lot about that, and that's something I'm really curious about. I was just listening to a podcast from the Daily called Why So Many Parents Are Opting Out of Public Schools, and they mentioned some of the reasons, and also mentioned there's a voucher program or something. I had no idea the government would give you money to homeschool your kids, or even to use on private education other than homeschool.
I'm losing you here.
How much that covers in terms of school supplies and stuff, and also if you have any opinions. So yeah, curious to hear your thoughts. And go back, go. Bye.
Well, it sounds like I missed a very important part of your question on the second part, so I don't know. A lot of the funding type stuff is run by the states, so if you're in California, you'd have to look at the California stuff. I know a lot of states, school funding, they want that to go to public education. That's kind of a big thing for some people. They do not like when any tax dollars or whatever go to any other form of education. But I know there are a lot of programs in a lot of states that, there are, vouchers or whatever. A lot of that I think is for private school. Wisconsin actually does. This is the first I'm learning about. I don't know if it's new or what. We just are using it for the first time this year, but there is a I don't even know exactly what it's called, but there is some kind of a program where they will help to pay for some of the schooling as well as some extracurriculars. So they'll cover a couple of those. So we have our kids like in karate. They're going to cover their karate classes, which is phenomenal. I mean, I'm very excited about that. We've never had any support before. Never asked for any support, honestly. It's just a matter of, we just don't want a governor or anything that's anti-homeschooling. That's when it gets scary. Otherwise, it's just, leave it be. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of resources. My wife would know a lot more about this than me, but there's a billion homeschool groups. You think about homeschooling as being like you just stay in your house. No, so the actual school, they are in like a school, and they go once a week, and that's where they get all their curriculum and all that kind of stuff. But there's also like local Wisconsin homeschool group that my wife is a part of, and they go on all these trips and do all these things. And then there's a different homeschool group. I can't even keep them straight. There's the school, and then there's the group, and then there's the local group, and then there's all these different things. So yeah, there's a million different activities and things that they do, and a lot of it isn't really funded. You're going to pay for it, but it's not expensive. I mean, you're going to go to a park, you guys go to a park and have like a science thing, it doesn't cost anything. So yeah, I mean, I would just look around. I mean, you're in California, so I don't know where they fall on all that stuff. Obviously, California spends a lot of money, but they also strike me as we don't really like homeschooling kind of a place. So you'll have to look and see what they offer or don't offer, what the rules are, and regulate. There's different regulations too in terms of requirements you need to meet. Wisconsin is extremely lax on that. But yeah, I would just get started looking into it. Reach out to some people in the area. I'm sure again there's going to be local homeschool groups, so just reach out and ask questions, see what they have to say. And again, I didn't hear the second part. You don't have to call back in if you don't want. You can text me on this phone number or whatever and just shoot me whatever questions you got. Andy from Kansas, 7 seconds. We'll see if this is even a thing. Nope, doesn't sound like it's a thing. Let's try part 2.
Hey, Ryan, it's Andy here in Kansas.
What's up?
I have not been watching preseason football, really. I mean, you kind of followed on my phone or whatever, but I haven't really watched any out here. I did not know that they changed the kickoff touchback rule again.
Yeah.
35-yard line? Are you kidding me? I mean, I read a little something about, I went back, I looked at a little article. Troy Vincent was talking about how the kickoff dynamic, they wanted that to be more dynamic.
Yep.
I don't understand why moving it to the 35 is making kickoffs more dynamic.
Well, so here's the problem, and I called this in the preseason last year. The problem was when they did a kickoff, everybody was returning it to the 30. They were getting to the 30 anyways. So the problem is they started just kicking it into the end zone and letting people take a knee. They didn't care because they're going to get to the 30 anyways. So they were fine with allowing them to take a knee and take it out to the 30. The NFL thought that, no, nobody would do that. They wouldn't just gift it to the 30. Well, since everybody's taken a knee and they're just kicking it out of the end zone every single time, now they're threatening with, okay, well, now you have to take it to the 35 because they want more returns. So now teams are like, okay, 35 is too far, so they're kicking it shorter. They're trying to find different things. They got like little squib kick, bounce kick stuff. I'm actually very excited about it. I said that I wanted them to do this because as soon as I saw that all the returns were getting to the 30, I said this is going to be a disaster in terms of you trying to get returns because nobody's actually going to do it. So again, we'll see how it goes, but I think what this means is this year you're going to see a lot more kickoff returns than last year where they just kicked it out of the end zone because they didn't care.
I mean, I could see one way to do that, but the 35-yard line, oh my goodness, just a few years ago it was still the 20. In high school it's still the 20. It just seems like it kills statistics.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the point is they're not going to do it. That's the whole point. They don't want them kicking it out of the end zone anymore. It's a punishment. So the idea is, as much as it's, well, that's crazy, why would you do that? They won't do that. That's the idea.
For the NFL. I mean, if you chip away, the field, you're not going to see, the kind of eye-popping statistics that I think most basic fans, want to see. Not that stats are the most important thing if you really understand football. From a viewing standpoint, it's exciting when the quarterback is in the 4,000s or 5,000s. I mean, if you shorten the field so much, I mean, you're not going to get those kinds of numbers. I think
you get more scores, though.
People from, getting excited. How is a touchback exciting? I mean, why don't they just move?
Well, they're not going to do a touch. That's the thing. So you're getting more returns, and you probably are getting higher scores. More offenses are going to end up scoring than they did in the past. And so the NFL is going to get exactly what they want. They get more exciting returns, but they are assuming that the injuries from returns will continue to stay low. So they get the exciting returns, and the offenses score more points, and everybody wins. Does a quarterback get less yards? Maybe. I mean, there's going to be less opportunities to drive from the 5, probably. But the other thing is, I don't even know that that's true because, again, last year they kicked it out of the end zone. They started at the 30. I don't know that they're getting much further than the 30 now. They might even be getting not as far as people now have to do it, so they find ways to stop them short of the 30. They're certainly not getting to the 35, and if they start getting to the 35, then you might start seeing more touchbacks. But no, I think that the goal line is going to be in and around the 30-yard line, just like it has been, which again is pushed out further, which means more scores, and you got the kickoff returns. I think it's a win. I mean, I would have preferred to keep it the way it was a long time ago, but they're worried about injuries. So if you're going to change it, fine. This is the compromise that I would want.
Kicker back, right? Because they were talking about they want a dynamic kickoff where people return the ball more. I thought they wanted the people return the ball less. It's kind of confusing. So I don't really know what's going on, but 35-yard line. I mean, if they make the field any shorter, the field is not going to get to ride any of the rides at Six Flags. It'll be too short. That's a whole other problem, but I got another idea about that. I'll call back.
Yeah, and then as far as the injuries, the idea is not so much I mean, I guess it was at first they did want to do away with returns. That was the first thing is they wanted, and that upset me because it's like, this is a part of the game. You shouldn't be doing this. So they found a secondary way to kind of fix it, which is we're going to move the lines. You notice the two, the kickoff and the kick return team, those two lines are like face-to-face. They're right next to each other, so you're kind of condensing that collision. There isn't that massive collision that takes place, and so it ends up being like a really long run play is kind of the idea behind it, is that you got the line of scrimmage and the guy's going to try to find a lane to run through and all that, rather than the way that it used to be. So they do want returns, which I appreciate, and they found a compromise, which is we'll do this thing which is going to lower the injuries, and then we'll push it to the 35 to prevent teams from wanting to kick it out of the end zone so that they will kick it short enough so that it does get returned. And again, everybody wins. So I am in favor of the way that they're doing it. We'll see how it actually turns out. Again, they tried this last year. The problem was everybody returned it too far, and so it didn't end up working because teams are like, screw that, I'm just going to kick it out of the end zone.
Ryan, it's Andy again. So I know a lot of teams. I'm talking about the shortened field with the touchback rule here. A lot of teams will defer the kickoff at the beginning of the game and play defense first. But if you move the ball, since they're moving the ball all the way to the 35-yard line, and a lot of teams will probably start around then, if you go really any distance on offense and you have to punt, that punt most likely will pin the other team back really far. What I'm saying is that if you started on the 20 and you went 3 and out, you were punting from between your 20 and your 30, right? And if the punt is maybe 50 yards, which is not a given, they were getting the ball somewhere between their 20 and their 30 then. I think the math is right on that one. Okay? And, it's kind of the same kind of field position for them as well. But if you move it up to the 35 and you go 3 and out, you're still punting from like your own 40. And so the team that doesn't get the ball first, if they force a 3 and out, their offense is probably going to start with the ball like around their own 10-yard line. It might actually change how teams decide on the coin toss. Some teams might say, look, we're going to probably get the ball at our own 35 to start this game. Let's take the ball first. Even if we don't go anywhere with it, we're going to pin the other team back pretty far for their first series, so it might be worth it. So something I'm not sure, I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but that's going to change, I think, some of the dynamics with the decision making there. I'm curious too. What about punts? Like, why wouldn't they change the touchback up for punts? I know that would kill punters' net yardage, but that's kind of the point. Why would we keep the touchbacks after a punt at 20 yards? If we're going to move the kickoff up to 35. Think about it, if we move the punt up to 30, you'd have teams that wouldn't punt so much, and there'd be less punting in football. That would be great, actually. So I just think the NFL is going about these touchbacks, both kickoff and punting touchbacks. They're not really thinking very well. Anyway, what do you think? Bye.
Well, I think the punt they're keeping because there isn't a need to change the incentive structures for that. At least not as far as they can think of. The only thing I could think is punters would stay far away from the end zone, and so their punts would all suck. They'd be kicking it down to like the 15-yard line, and guys would be jumping it immediately because they don't want to accidentally let it roll into the end zone, so that would kind of change. And there's no real reason for it. I mean, teams aren't trying to kick it into the end zone. They're trying to pin it down at the 1 anyway, so there's just no reason to do it, really, that I can think of anyways. As far as the defer or receive, I mean, I can't super wrap my head around why that would make a difference. I'm maybe just not fully understanding, but I mean, it's the same thing at halftime, right? That's the whole point is, you could say the same thing about coming out of the second half as you could to start the game, unless you see it as a momentum thing. Whereas, we get off to a hot start or we get off to a rough start, but we got a good enough punter to pin them back. We're feeling good about the start of the game either way. Maybe, but that would have to entirely be like a momentum thing. Because again, at halftime, the other team has the exact same advantage. And also, I don't think the line of scrimmage is going to move very much because they're not going to be kicking it so that there are touchdowns. I mean, there's going to be some. There's going to be some that are, accidental and all different kinds of stupid things. We had that guy that got drafted kicked the ball out of bounds, took it out to like the 40 or something. Just nonsense. And I'm sure if it gets close, there are going to be teams that let it bounce into the end zone because they're going to want to have that. But for the most part, they're going to kick it short. They're going to be returned, and it might get out to about the 30, which is where it was pretty much all of last year. Could be wrong. I mean, we got to see. We got to see how teams do stuff as far as being creative. Seems to me guys are not getting super far with the returns. I didn't look at any statistics on that or whatever, but that was what I had noticed. Seems to be kind of hard to find a lane with this new kickoff thing. But anywho, why don't we take a break? Probably should have done that a little bit ago. But we got Nate on the other side.
Hey, Baghdadi, it's Nate calling in. Just listening to the game, and I really like listening to the game because you get Larry McCarron just saying weird shit. I swear to God, I never know is he losing it? Is it just me? Like, I don't want to say anything mean, but sometimes Larry just kind of seems like he's not fully paying attention. Or he's paying attention to the wrong things. Like, I don't know how to describe it. He always just seems a little bit off in the best way. I love him to death.
Right.
But him just mentioning, I didn't even realize this was what it was called, but the dick pattern. Just saying dick pattern repeatedly on the radio is just objectively hilarious, by the way. But, like deep inside cut, and I was like, that's not what I was thinking when he was saying dick pattern. I'll just leave it at that. But how about Golden with that spinning catch though?
Beautiful.
Oh man, I gotta catch a video of that tomorrow or something. See if I can find a breakdown of it, or I want to hear Pat Daddy's description. Give me an audio description. If you don't remember, I'm blind. I could use an audio description because watching videos is kind of iffy for me. So anyway, go Pat, go.
I mean, it was everything we wanted to see. I mean, if it was an easy catch, if it was like a little slant route and he caught it and ran with it, that'd be nice. You know, kind of like the first time he played in a game, that's basically what it was. A quick little slant route, he caught it, got brought down right away. A ball that was, I mean, I think we could call it off, even if you thought it was a back shoulder. I don't think the placement was right. It was too far inside. Otherwise, it was too far inside and short. I don't know exactly what the throw was supposed to be. But it was perfect because it highlighted exactly why Golden is here. His ability to manipulate his body control, his hands, he catches those. I mean, I really think, and I could be wrong about this, but I really think sometimes with great receivers and like okay receivers, it's really hard to see the difference, and it almost feels like luck because you look at it and go, Romeo could have done that and all that. But there's, what if, let's just run some hypotheticals. What if Golden noticed it was short early, and so he hits the brakes and turns around to try to catch it, and he stops and he waits there. The defender is going to stop. He's going to turn around. He's going to bat the ball down at best, or he's going to intercept it, and Golden's going to have to try to play defense. The fact is, he knew it was underthrown. He kept running, and he outran the ball, and he kept going and kept going and kept going, and then stopped, came back at the right time, so the defender didn't have time to catch up and caught the ball. I think there's a lot of nuance to these things. And Gold, you know, I've said it 1,000 times. It's probably true of all positions. But I think for wide receiver, it is like my number one thing, and that is guys that make football look easy. They just do things naturally. I don't know if they're actually thinking or if it's just a natural feel thing, and it seems like he has that natural feel. That where his body needs to be, not just the ability to actually turn and spin and make the catch. I mean, that's body control, and he seems to be great at that. I'm talking about even before that. How fast should you be running right now? And what direction should you be running? You need to be running fast enough, you know, with your head turned, you can see it, fast enough to keep that defender thinking that ball is out in front, so he's trying to get past you while you know you're going to try to get behind him. A lot of guys aren't going to think of that. They're going to stop and turn and try to get the ball, and the defender's going to stop and turn, and he's going to break it up. And if that had happened, I wouldn't have thought anything about Golden. I thought, that ball sucked. What's he supposed to do? There's nothing he can do there. That's exactly what I and everybody else would have said. There's nothing that you could have done as a receiver. The ball was no good, except there is, and Golden did it. And I think that's kind of the problem, too, with, you know, you look at the receivers, and I know a lot of Packer fans, most Packer fans were on the, you know, we need better receivers things, but even from my perspective, I'm looking at it and I'm going, I mean, the ball's no good. And so in my mind, I don't know what could have been done for the receiver to be able to catch that. But that's the thing. I don't know what I don't know. And it's not until you watch these guys that you realize, boy, it seems like the quarterback is just better when it comes to him, but maybe the receiver just knows what to do better, you know? Kind of like I think Musgrave is a great example of somebody that seems to do it wrong a lot, and it's hard to understand, like, what is wrong here? What is the disconnect? And he's a perfect example of a guy, and I don't want to rule him out, but he's a perfect example of a guy that has every tool you could ever want in a human being playing football at the tight end position. But he just seems to be lacking this natural ability. He makes everything look so hard, and he makes the quarterback look like he sucks a lot. So that was kind of my takeaway from that whole thing when I was watching it is, you know, well, I already said it, whatever. Drew from Green Bay.
Hey, Ryan, it's Drew from Green Bay, and I got to get going, so I wanted to give some thoughts.
Sorry to bother you.
The game. We're just into the second quarter, but I really like what the line. I seem to be getting a lot of pressure, especially on the right side of the line.
Yeah.
Or a lot of push, not pressure. And our defensive line is obviously swarming. That's really nice. And, you know, you were talking about how Jeff Hafley wanted a lot more fumbles. Well, we got 2 already. And I don't know how Kalen King, the smallest guy in the field, comes away with the ball, but somehow he recovered it in that big scrum. So that's pretty cool to see, and maybe the work Jeff Hafley's put in, the emphasis is coming to fruition. We'll have to see if that holds true, but if we are going to get the amount of fumbles he wants, we're going to have to get a bunch of strip sacks, and, we saw one of those, and now this one was just like a punch out. It looks like maybe Enoch Barway came from behind and punched it out, but it turned a first down for them into our ball. So, also just side note, I know it's the preseason, but I hope the officiating gets better because it's been pretty horrendous.
Yeah.
The replay, like, how do you call that an interception? Obviously, he trapped the ball.
Yeah.
So I hope this is just like a preseason thing, but I've heard other people for other games say all preseason that officiating's been terrible, so we can look forward to that one. But anyways, have a good day. Bye.
Yeah, I really didn't want to complain about officiating in a preseason game, but it was hard not to because there was some things that I was watching like, come on, man. I mean, what are we doing here? It was a little frustrating. I mean, look, the Packers look good. It didn't really affect the score. It's a preseason game, so it obviously isn't going to affect our record or anything. But it was pretty bad. I mean, there were certain calls that I have no idea what the heck. There were two that I know of. I can't remember exactly what they were, but I know that there were two times when I looked at something and thought, this is freaking egregious. So, yeah, I'm not looking. I never do. Nobody ever looks forward to the officiating. They're seemingly never getting better at anything. So just got to hope that it balances out in the end, I guess, that we get as much as we give. All right, why don't we take our final break here? We got Kyle's got a two-parter coming up, so rather than splitting it in half, we'll just take a break. We'll come back and hear from Kyle and Madison.
Ryan, what's up? Kyle from Madison. How are you, buddy?
Doing good.
Just heading back from the preseason game.
Nice.
Man, it was a lot of fun. Took my nephew. I haven't been to a preseason game for I don't know if I ever have. I think I went to one about 35 years ago. I have no idea how that translated on television, but it was an absolutely beautiful day there.
Yeah.
We had pretty good seats. We were like on maybe on the 10 or something like that, down a little lower. Really nice seats. But yeah, it'll be interesting to hear what people that watch at home, what the vibe was like and what everybody picked up. But from where we were sitting, I don't know, I guess a couple of takeaways were, well, one, the vibe of the place was just amazing, especially the first half. Like, for a preseason game, the first half was actually really compelling to watch in person. The crowd was really into it. Everybody was really, it was really a good time. I guess the other takeaway is just, I don't know, Kalen King seems like he had a hell of a game.
Yes.
And it looks like we escaped without, major injuries that I was able to see. And the team just looked really good. I don't know, like, talking to people around the stadium, people are excited. The team, the vibe of the team, like, just, I don't know. The tempo, maybe some things you couldn't see on the screen. They had Oladapo pretty much quarterbacking that defense pretty much the whole, I'd say the last couple minutes of the first quarter and then all the way into the fourth. Oladapo was like the guy making the defensive calls.
Nice.
And he was talking so much junk to the Seahawks, and it was working. So even like the second and third string guys were really getting into it. The crowd was really applauding the effort. The guys kept running the length every time they make a play, and we'd clap for them. It was really nice. So be interested to get your thoughts. I'm pretty whelmed on the quarterback battle for spot 3. I don't know. Maybe it looks different on film. I really don't care.
No.
I think you just keep 2. But other than that, I'm really glad the starters got pulled when they did. Golden is, I'm glad I saw him live. It's kind of hard to explain, but he just does the thing.
Exactly.
I don't know how else to say it. Like, he looks like I don't want to jinx him, but he looks like he could be a guy. He just looks right out there. So I really hope that ends up being what I think it could be. And yeah, so on to Detroit and go Pack, go.
Well, I think as usual, Kyle, we are in sync on these things. It sounds like everything you saw in person is kind of what we saw. Not with the Oladapo thing. We obviously couldn't see him on the screen, but the feel of the game, the vibe of the game. It is funny. I mean, obviously when you're there, you don't know if it translates on TV, but even like I watched it on TV, most people did. I'm always interested when I go to social media, like, is everyone going to agree? Because I feel great about what I just saw. And sometimes everybody's excited, and sometimes you go back and people are complaining, and it's like, what is happening right now? But I'm super happy that, from what I can tell, everybody's kind of on the same page. That was really good. That was, like you said, the tempo and everything. I love that you similarly struggle to define what it is about Golden, because obviously, as you just heard, I'm in the same camp. I'm in the same camp in that I don't know, but you know, being a football fan who's watched guys like Devontae and Jordy and all these, and even guys not on our team, you watch football for a while, and sometimes there's just a guy that just seems to have it. And you don't want to jinx it, and you don't know because sometimes it doesn't translate. But everything we've seen so far, you look and just go, "What, bro?" And it's weird. I know I've said this before, and it's super stupid. And I don't know if I'm alone in this or not, but there's a part of me that just feels like the last 2 or 3 years has been my entire life. In that, you know, the whole blue chip conversation where it's like he'll probably be good, but he's not going to be great. You know, Dobbs and Watson and Reed and Kraft. These guys are good, but they're not blue chip elite. Bro, I mean, it wasn't that long. I mean, it was a while ago we drafted Devontae, but give me a break. This team is fantastic at drafting receivers. They always have been. Again, even the guys that don't pan out in terms of being Devontae, they still end up being solid receivers, these second-round guys that we've been picking up. But it seems silly to me that I'm like, come on, he's not going to be one of those top 10 type of guys. Why not? Why freaking not? Why can't he be? Just saying. I mean, you know, there's two sides. One is, you know, calm down. You don't know. He might not actually pan out. It might not be that big of a year. But on the other side, who's going to freaking tell me that he can't be? Because what I'm watching is pretty awesome. I mean, let me do something I never should do. And that is overhype somebody and jinx the living crap out of them. And this is not a prediction, but if I wanted to like put into words in a way that I can convey to other people what I'm seeing when I watch Golden, the only thing I can think to do is to do a comp. And honestly, the best comp that I can think of, and I don't exactly know why, but it just feels right, is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown is just a dog. He goes out and he just does it. He's always there. He's always open. He's always got reliable hands. He's just that dude. I don't know that I can say, you know, Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or anything. I don't know that that's exactly where I'm like, yeah, that's for sure it. But for some reason, I don't know if it's just because he's a smaller guy that's got some quickness to him, you know, real sudden movements, very good hands. I'm just feeling Amon-Ra. And if we look at where he's been, you know, again, not saying that's him for sure or whatever. He was the 5th highest graded receiver last year in terms of his receiving grade. His overall grade, he was 6th. So he's right in there, top 5 for sure. 2023, 6th in receiving, 7th overall. I think another really solid option if you wanted to pare that down a little bit, a guy that I've admired for a very long time that, in fact, I've talked about, boy, it'd be great if we could trade for him, Chris Godwin. Dude has been solid over there at Tampa Bay. Not big in the touchdown numbers, but you look at his PFF grades, his drop rate, contested catch rate, 4 of his last 6 seasons have been over 1,000 yards. The other 2 seasons, I think, were due to injuries. The only reason he didn't crack that, in fact, last year it was only 7 games. Godwin, by the way, had the 10th highest PFF grade this last year, so still considered roughly a top 10 wide receiver. So obviously Golden is Golden. But just in terms of what I'm seeing, I know a lot of people are looking at the 4.29 speed. Again, I still have never seen the thing where I saw with Watson. Now, to be fair, I didn't see that with Watson all through training camp. I just didn't know. You know, supposedly he's fast. Okay, great. And then I remember week 1, there was that big play, like right out of the gate, and he dropped it. But I remember watching all the routes, and he just sailed past people. And that's when it clicked. Holy crap, I love this guy. So we'll see. But in the meantime, Amon-Ra St. Brown ran like a 4.51. So I'm excited either way. If you tell me that speed doesn't translate, I don't super care. Because what he can do works at a really high level. Puka Nacua, number 1 wide receiver. This isn't a comp. I'm just saying, number 1 wide receiver in football based on PFF grade, ran a 4.57. Godwin's a 4.42 guy. So even if, on the field it looks more like 4.42, it's still quick. And it still absolutely can translate because, again, the things that get me excited are the things that make guys like Amon-Ra and Godwin and other guys like that really good receivers. It's not the same as what you see in, Devontae. I think Devontae and Justin Jefferson have a certain kind of way of playing. Mike Evans obviously has a very different style. As a big dude, I haven't seen enough of Puka to really know. A.J. Brown being a big physical type of guy. Nico being a big dude. Collins, Drake London, a big dude. But there's a lot of guys you can look at in the NFL and probably say, this guy has X, Y, and Z potential. And here's the other thing. I'm looking at him as, okay, he has that top 10 potential based on this skill set without the speed. If the speed is real, and if he can fly past people faster than Watson can, that opens up a whole new avenue here. Now we're looking at, Tyreek Hill upside, which is just like number 1 wide receiver every year upside. Ish, he's in the conversation. All right, we'll call this last one.
Hey, Kyle, part 2. I just wanted to add one thing from today. At one point, I was talking to the guy in the row behind me, and it was right after Danny Whelan just kicked like his 4th absolute moon ball, and we were just talking like, if these have got to be 2 of the best specialists, like the best specialist like duo in the NFL, that when you're in person watching a guy punt like that, I don't know what it looks like on TV. Positively insane punting exhibition today in person. So I just wanted to call back and add that because, that hasn't always been the case. We've had some punters, but it hasn't always been the case, and we all know the kicking game struggles that have, it's like you get a good kicker and everybody forgets how miserable it was the last 2 years,
Sure.
To watch both of those guys ace their exam today, and especially what Whelan was doing. That was just, it was just crazy. The hang times. He's kicking this thing like higher than the freaking stadium stands. I can't even explain to you. I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know Newtonian physics allowed for these things, and I don't understand how his foot, it was just like a bloody mess. Like, I don't know how he's doing it, but if he can, if they can bring the special teams specialist play into the season like that, man, that's a sneaky important thing that was really strong tonight. So I just want to get your thoughts on that. Talk to you later.
He's doing foot conditioning like Jean-Claude Van Damme and what was that, Kickboxer or Bloodsport or one of those where he's kicking that bamboo thing over and over again. That's Daniel Whelan just kicking a tree, he's using the top of his foot, just kicking it over and over again, trying to toughen it up. I wonder if that does, he's got to have that. That's got to be a thing. Not the actual kicking a tree part, but in terms of, like, if my foot was just his foot, like I just got to experience the power that he has into that, it would probably break my foot. Like, it would hurt really bad. At the very least, it's going to hurt. But yeah, dude, we were all there for the Jake Frost days, right? How frustrating it was to just see all these shanked punts all the time. Like, dude, are you kidding? Like, oh, there's another bad punt. Like, you just got used to hearing. It is frustrating. That's the thing with special teams. When, like, basic routine things like extra points and punts, you start to really feel your anxiety rise. That's a problem. And your team's got a problem when that's the case. So it does feel good. Orzic, knock on wood, we haven't really heard anything negative about that. The holding, which has been a problem in the past, some botched holding and whatnot. That's another thing we can thank Daniel Whelan for. Has not been a thing. We have a kicker that is like nothing I've ever seen, not just for the Packers, but for anybody ever. Again, I can't imagine this is going to continue into the season, although last year was pretty wild as well. Things are good on the special teams right now, and it feels good that it feels good. So, all right, I'm going to get out of here. You all have a fantastic rest of your day. We haven't done a song in a while, and this morning I lost my coffee. I set it down and didn't know where I put it. And so, like everything, I turned it into a song. I just start randomly singing nonsense. And my daughter thought it was really catchy. And so her and I started singing it together all day. And then I turned it into a song on the robot. You can actually record your voice and turn it into a song, and that's what I did. So this is a remixed. It is my voice, although the AI turns it into whatever. But this is me on the vocals, ladies and gentlemen. But you guys have a... This is so stupid. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Where did I put up my coffee? Where did it put up my coffee? Where did I put up my coffee? Where did I put up my coffee?